Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, in attendance tonight, we have myself, Dylan Dumont, Selectman Gesford, Selectman Moran, Selectman Jacoby, and Selectman Bergeropoulos. We also have with us the Town Administrator, Mr. Sorensen, Town Engineer, Mr. Dima, Police Chief Tad Dion, Police Captain Steve McElhaney, Police Captain Dave Kao, the new Town Moderator, Mark Edgington, School Board Liaison, Maureen Dion, and the Executive Assistant, Lori Weisgarber. Hopefully I got everybody. And Patrick McStravick, sorry. He whispered it to me. I got to give him credit. For public input, does anyone in the audience wish to address the board on any issue which the board has control of at this time? Please state your name and address for the record when you come up. Chief, the fire chief will come on up and speak to something.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I asked the fire chief to come in just to kind of give us an overview of the incident this past weekend regarding the gentleman that was fishing and unfortunately was caught in the water and ended up drowning.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this was a good combined effort between Hudson Fire, Hudson Police, Wyndham Fire, Pelham Fire, and then Nashua Fire came over with their dive team. Also involved was New Hampshire Marine Patrol, who ended up with the investigation, and New Hampshire Fish and Game. I know they were on the way, and I don't know if they actually made it to the scene and where they ended up with their investigation. But what we know happened is the gentleman was fishing near the brook. My understanding is caught a fish, lost his balance, went into the water. Water can be deceiving when it's moving. It's a lot more powerful than people think. Also with the really cold water, it doesn't take, falling into it, kind of you get a shock. You can lose control of your coordination pretty quick. And he was not able to get himself out, and he was found in very shallow water, under the water, about 400 feet downstream. So unfortunately, life-saving measures were taken and then terminated on scene based on the downtime. So just a couple of things that I think are worth noting in the future. I mean, I said, water, the water is deceiving. People don't understand how powerful the water can be. It only takes 6 to 8 inches or so to wash you off your feet at 2 to 3 miles an hour. That's 3 to 4 feet per second. If you're trying to picture something in the water and moving 3 or 4 feet in a second. It doesn't seem like it's very fast, but that's a lot of power that can wipe you off your feet. Also, don't try driving through water, flooded roads. One, because you don't know how much current there is that can take your car away. You don't know the condition of the road underneath the water. That could cause damage, be damaged, and lead to a problem. He had somebody with him. He tried a couple things to save him, which were important. The last thing you want to do if you see somebody in trouble is to jump in the water with them. Try to throw something. His friend got a rope. Try to throw it to him. Try to reach something out there. Use a boat to go get him before you go in and try to get him. And if you're going to go in after him, if there's people around, try to get help. Because if you go in after somebody, now you're in the same environment that they're in. So having help on the way that can help get you out of it would be very important. Otherwise, you can have 2 people in there. And if you ever find yourself in that type of water, don't try to swim against the current. Go with the current and try to swim at an angle towards shore, because you're not going to be able to fight the current. You're going to get very tired. Go with the current and just try to angle yourself towards the shore. And if anybody, I don't know if anybody has any questions on the call on the incident, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I'd just like to say thank you for yourself and your men's work. I know it's a very difficult situation to go through, but just want to say thank you.
And it is. I think it was a good example of how mutual aid worked, where that the brook runs right between Hudson and Wyndham, so jurisdiction can be questionable, and it flows into Pelham. We had no no issues with our mutual aid partners. We all work together to try to hopefully bring it to a happy ending, which unfortunately didn't happen. But again, everybody on scene did a great job.
Chief, I appreciate you giving us some guidance. The other thing that I understand is like all our waterways are very high right now, and that can last for a while, even without rain. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a good point, because it takes time for the watershed to fully empty, so it's draining. It's
Yep.
draining right now. So the weather's beautiful, but everything is still draining days after.
And going
so-
fast.
And going fast and going fast and deceivingly fast. It doesn't look. The water does not look like it's going that fast. It's easy to underestimate how much power there is, but it does not take much to get washed away. So accidents happen. He wasn't trying to go in the water,
Right.
but just being near the water. You know, if you're going to do that, have a life jacket, have something to at least help keep you up. But accidents happen. Don't just assume that, you know, nothing's going to happen.
And this will be true in the summer too. It's like if it was summer and a hot day, if there was a lot of rain, everything's moving a lot faster.
If we're starting to see more weather extremes and not whatever people's political views are,
Right.
Nobody can deny the fact that the weather is much more extreme, from drought to flood to drought.
Yep.
If you remember, 3 summers ago, we were having a drought. 2 summers ago, all summer, the brooks and the river were running pretty fast. Springtime is usually when you see it really fast, because you have the snow melt, you know, along with spring rains. This is just from all the rain we just had, and if we go through a period like this during the summer, during the fall, you can see this as well.
Yep. Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that it's deceiving, and we have a
Yes.
lot of waterways.
We do. People don't stop to think about it, but we do have a lot of water in Hudson, more than people realize sometimes.
Only one other question for you. Your staff, they do okay? You know, after the event, after the incident?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we constantly monitor it for that, because this is just one of many calls like this they deal with.
Yeah, I
So,
just want to make sure.
This is,
Are they getting any help that they need?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you,
Okay, you too. You got nothing on the agenda, huh?
Nothing on the agenda this week.
Anybody else in the public that'd like to come up and speak? With that, I will close the public input session at 7:09. We'll move on to recognitions, nominations, and appointments, of which we have an appointment. Brendan Sullivan, Zoning Board of Adjustment. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Make the motion.
Selectman
Which seat was he going for?
Term to
Alternate.
expire, alternate term to expire December 2027.
I'll make that, that's the motion.
Motion made by
I'll
Selectman
second.
Warren, seconded by Selectman Guestford. Any discussion?
Just to clarify for anybody watching, I guess, so this was the gentleman we had here a few weeks ago, last meeting, right? You recommended him, you thought he was doing a good job there, continue, so.
This is the new gentleman that came forward.
Oh, the
looking
new
for a
guy.
po- Yeah, looking
Yeah.
for a position. He was pretty much looking to volunteer just about anywhere.
That's right, yeah.
So with that, it looks like he chose for an alternate. My personal opinion, I think that's a great place for him to start.
Yep.
He'll be able to join the meetings, get the packets, understand what's going on. And then hopefully if he does well and takes a liking to it, we'll see him back here for a member position.
There we go, okay.
All right, so with that, no more discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, consent items. Does any board member wish to remove any item for separate consideration? Selectman Jacoby?
Yes, I'd just like to pull out 6D and 6E.
Okay. Do we have a motion for 6A, B, and C? And F?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Selectman Guestford, seconded by Selectman Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries Selectman Jacoby?
Yes, I just removed item 6D, just because we had talked earlier about recognizing donations separately. So this was a donation from Judy LaFear Monk, owner of the bar, in the amount of $250 for a donation to the police department. I just want to say thank you and recognize that donation.
Okay.
Can we do them both together in the end, or do we have to do one at a time?
No, do you have
Okay.
anything else for the minutes, or?
Yeah, so the question on the minutes, I had mentioned the letter that I had referenced, and wanted to just add that to either the packet or to the minutes, the two letters that I had read portions of. So I just wanted to bring that. So that was the Department of Environmental Services that I quoted, and the actual response, the landfill response, just so that it's all in one place. When anyone looks back on this, it'll all be there. So I just wanted to add that, those two items.
If I may, Mr. Chair, was that the actual application as well? Is that what the second one
I
was?
did not have the application, I had just the response. Here, you can take a look at it.
All right, perfect.
That's what I
So
referenced.
these are actually the ones you want,
That's,
correct?
yeah, I tried to make sure I had the copy of exactly.
the request for
The
landfill?
two things that I
Yep,
referenced.
That's fine. We'll add them in.
Yeah, that was it.
So I'll be looking for a motion for donations and acceptance of minutes.
I'll move that.
Made by Selectman Jacoby, seconded by Selectman Bergeropoulos. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, next up is old business.
Turn it over to me.
I'm gonna,
Turn that over to me.
yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 7, old business. 7A, votes taken after non-public session on April 22nd, 2025. Item number 1, Selectman Jacoby made a motion, seconded by Selectman Vergaropoulos, to authorize the Director of Community Media to hire Christopher Robage as part-time videographer. The starting salary of $16 per hour for no more than 19 hours per week. Motion carried 5-0. 7A2, Selectman Gesford made a motion, seconded by Selectman Vergaropoulos, to accept the resignation of Joshua Kippanon with the board's thanks and appreciation. Motion carried 5-0. 7A3, Selectman Moran made a motion, seconded by Selectman Gesford, to adjourn at 11:20 PM. Motion carried 5-0.
Next up is new business. We have a public hearing for the Mansfield Drive street acceptance, and I will recognize the town engineer, Elvis Stima.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. This is a single-family subdivision that was approved a while back. It required water, sewer, and the streets. They were done in accordance with the approved plans. We've taken ownership of the water and the sewer. The road was the last thing. There's some paperwork that needed to be done. The developer finally got everything in place. We got a 2-year bond, performance bond. Obviously, there's no objections tonight, but this is ready for prime time. Once we take ownership of this, basically it becomes our asset, town property, and we get to maintain it, plow it, and do all the fun stuff we do all the other roads. And with that said, I will tell you that the neighbors are very pleased that we're doing this and looking forward to it. I guess the developer did a good job, but no one does a better job than DPW when it comes to plowing at night. So I think everyone takes comfort that it's going to be done on time and they don't have to worry about it. So everyone has been a bit in a hurry for this to happen. So with that said, I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? With that, I will open up the public hearing for the street acceptance at 7:16 PM. Is there anyone present that would like to speak on this matter? Nobody jumping for joy out there. I will close at 7:16. All right, so now I'll be looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion would be to, go ahead.
To authorize oh, wrong one, sorry. To accept Mansfield Drive as a town road as recommended by the town engineer and the public works director.
Second that motion.
Motion made by Selectman Moran, seconded by Selectman Gesford. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Take care.
Next up, we have purchased a new voting machine, so recognize the new town moderator, Mark Edgington.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. As we all know, Paul Enderbitson has done an exhaustive amount of work to purchase 8 new ImageCast Precinct 2 voting machines. The original cost was $7,000. I think they've been bumped up a little bit to $5,000. We do get a state credit of $3,500 per machine, and we have no option. They have to be purchased by the next election. New Hampshire's dropping the AccuVote, and so the sooner we get them, the sooner we can test them. I know a lot of people contacted me, want to do tests on these, make sure that they're functioning properly and that they're not communicating to Mars and changing the votes or whatever. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have one question. So the deadline is prior to the next election, so obviously a little bit of time in there.
We got a little time.
Has there been any research into Voting Works?
Yes, so as I understand it, Voting Works is open source. I like that. They are out of the state, and we can drive to Salem and, with LHS, and, if there's a problem, services right around the corner. And I think that was the main reason that Paul liked them. The proprietary software that's inside the Dominion machines is, vetted, and most towns are going to be in New Hampshire are going to be using this. There are only, as I understand it, 2 companies. What'd you call it again? I've forgotten the.
Voting Works?
Voting Works, yeah, the Voting Works and then LHS. These are the only 2 that are approved. So, again,
Yeah.
I'm being handed this and told, make it happen.
Fair
So,
enough, and
yep.
I'm just asking because that was my only concern, was that they're both still under evaluation right now. There hasn't been anything completed on either one at the moment, as far as I know. So that's why I was just asking if there was any research.
I don't think that I think they'll come available at the same time, which would be very soon. And I think that the main point is that, I went to the factory there and we saw them and they've got them right there. And if they need a part or, something like that, they're right around the corner to serve us.
Sure.
That was what was convincing to Paul anyway.
So, so the decision was made not to go get a bid from both companies.
I believe that we got some kind of piece of paper from them in the past, but not, I wouldn't call it maybe it is a bid. I can't speak to it.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it.
So it wasn't, town administrator can speak to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Selectman Jacoby, there, it's actually in the packet, with the procurement waiver was produced.
Yep.
The town clerk, Michelle Bruce, does a good job outlining the reasons why they chose that. I think, as Mr. Moderator said, primarily it's the support during an election. Whereas the company LHS is in Salem, and they would be on site and on
Right.
scene immediately versus talking to someone on a phone 3 hours away. So,
Often our volunteers are not the most tech-savvy individuals, and it might be, difficult if we set up machines that require, people to, by proxy, fix them.
Selectman Vergeropoulos.
Ted?
Yeah, thank you. You said they're still under evaluation. I read that in the packet. Do we have a timeline for that? Because obviously 2026 is going to approach faster than we think. So, and if we want time to test it, vet it, and make sure we like it.
Every time I've talked to my friend at the State House, he keeps acting like it should have happened already. What? It hasn't happened?
Well,
No,
I think that's
yeah.
my concern is, granted, I know the state's mandated only these 2 companies
Yep.
as appropriate.
Right.
So we have to select one, but we don't have a timeline on either of them.
If they don't go at the same day, I'd be very surprised. And I can't tell you where it is in the process, but I think it's just hanging right on the edge in order to fall over. So,
Okay, I just want to make sure that the town has enough time to prepare the way we need to prepare appropriately.
yeah, my intention is to, move forward on it with the expectation that they'll be, done, and then by the time we get them, I think it'll be here, and then I'm going to just test them out. I want everybody as confident as they possibly can be that the next election is going to be, have the level of integrity that all of our previous elections have had. So that's
Thank
my main concern. Thank you.
Selectman Moore?
When you say election, is it the next town election, state, or national?
Correct. It will be the town election.
the town, okay.
We should only have one during my term.
Okay.
Thank goodness. There's a lot to learn, and I didn't think I didn't pick the year that had 4 to run. I mean, as though it's not embarrassing enough that Paul has to hold my hand through the entire process. So
To learn.
it'll
He
just
would
be
have to
one.
hold anybody's hand, because
He would.
he's got all the knowledge.
Indeed.
So just my view on it, and I'll look to you for hopefully an answer. I appreciate all the research done. I'm a little cautious only because the eval hasn't been done, completed
Right.
on either one of them. If we put this off till next meeting in the hopes that that eval was completed, would that mess you up anyway? Or worst case scenario, even if we're a month out from now, does that mess you up at all?
I believe in getting my work done as quickly as I can get my work done.
Sure.
I turn in essays and assignments before they're due, so that I can get whatever feedback I can get ahead of time so that I don't miss any deadlines. I don't want anything to happen on my side that might slow things down. I think that the caution is acceptable. I have no clue what's going to happen, but when you're dealing with state government, you never have a clue what's going to happen.
Selectman Moore?
David?
I'll make a motion to defer this until the evaluations are complete.
I'll second.
Motion made by Selectman Moore, seconded by Selectman Jacoby. Is there any other discussion? Selectman Guessford?
Yeah, and I definitely like the procurement waiver and what's there. It is qualitative versus quantitative, information. And I tend to like to see numbers as well. And I don't know if it doesn't, if we've even asked for a quote from Voting Works. I didn't see anything in the packet, or did I miss something?
I don't believe so. I
No.
believe that the reasoning was stated because of prior work history with LHS. The
Sure.
service that they provided felt superior in the previous moderator's judgment.
I think it's a reasonable
Sure.
request.
Yeah, no, I think that the procurement waiver's done correctly.
Oh, I think it's done correctly. Don't get me wrong.
No, not just to his point, yeah.
But my point being that, just to kind of, maybe it's belt and suspenders.
Yep.
If we're waiting, why not just get the quote?
Why not get a quote from them just to see, and it might reinforce our decision,
Correct.
or cause us to maybe think a little bit more, but, and I get it. Those are great reasons to go with them, but I just like to make sure, I would just like to cross that T while we're in the process of waiting for the evaluations to be complete.
Selectman Moore?
Before we take our vote,
Sir?
that's okay. Before we take our vote, what I don't understand, if we've got 2 recommended machines, where are they getting the information to recommend if they can't approve them? I don't understand that.
Well, I don't understand how they're, what's holding them back either, but I can, I can have something for you at the next meeting.
No, I would rather wait till they're approved, but I just don't understand where they're telling you these are the 2 machines. Why don't we have some, have you got some literature from them saying this is why we picked them or anything?
Oh, gosh, I have had this conversation, if you'll give me just a moment. As I understand it, it was the LHS that normally does business in New Hampshire, and then they wanted to include the other company because they have an open source software, and that is a value. But I think they're out of Denver. I hesitate to call them at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I
when have
understand, I'm just, the state's wisdom that we're used to,
Uh-huh.
they're recommending you 2 machines, but they can't give us an okay. That's my concern.
Right. I think it's a valid concern.
Selectman Bergeropoulos?
Yeah, I agree with the motion to defer it till we have more information. Selectman Guessford was stating that we want to see the info, right? We don't want to waste resources on ahead of time and then find out the rug's been pulled out from underneath us. So what I would like to see, in addition, as these get closer to their unknown due date, if the companies can provide, along with getting the quotes, the validation methods, how they're gonna do it, I'd be interested in seeing those if we could.
Selectman Moore?
Knowing Paul, I'd get a hold of Paul, because I'm sure he's got something somewhere, because he put a lot of time and research
did.
into this.
He did.
So he's gotta have, he may have something that will save you a little bit of work.
Yeah, and maybe even other moderators around the state, you know, that we have, you know, if there's any, if there's any additional information that we can gather from that, or they might all be in the same position. I mean, you know, in terms of, well, this is, you know, it's new or whatever, but if anybody else has any experience with the other company, even though they're from further away, sometimes, you know, it can work.
Well, I know we have literature on it, and I'm happy to get that to you. I don't know if we have a quote, and if you'll notice, the quotes they're only good for a very limited time.
I get it. Usually 30 days.
They'll probably raise the price on you just because you asked for the quote.
Oh, yeah.
Nonetheless, but I think it's valid information. I mean, like, why isn't there a packet here? You're right. So, second question is then about the, so I'm going to get the quote for you. Second question is, what's going on with the state, and have an answer for you? Is that right?
Yeah, because we don't wanna make a decision until we have something that's approved.
So I'll speak to that one. So I reached out to another representative in Hudson who's on the election law committee, and I'm waiting on some information back on that right now, so I can help dig up that info on where the election law committee is with that evaluation process. I'm hoping to get this all pulled together prior to the next meeting so that the quote is still good. I didn't see, when was the date on there? Great, on the 4th, so that's not gonna, is it 30 days?
7/3 expiration date.
7/3, okay, yeah, so we should be all set, we'll be able to get it back in here before the quote expires. If you are able to dig up the quote for Voting Works in that time, then that would be extremely helpful as well. The only thing I would suggest is, as a friendly amendment to the motion, is that we just defer to a future date. Depending on the information that's pulled together, this board can decide to revisit this. I wouldn't make it specific to the evaluation. That would be my suggestion, but up to the motion maker and the secondary.
Yeah, if we got the correct information, I'll be.
Correct, yeah.
up for that. Yes.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay.
So friendly amendment, is that friendly to the seconder?
That's friendly to me.
All right, any further discussion?
How do I provide the information requested? Do I show up here
Forward
with
it
a-
off to the town administrator.
Yep.
So myself and/or Michelle, you can copy us both. You have our emails.
I do.
All right, so with that, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you very much, sir.
I presume I'm dismissed. Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
All right, so next up is the police department update. I will recognize the town administrator.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you might recall at the last meeting, I talked about some of the exercises I'm working through with the departments townwide. And part of that is taking a look at your organization, how it's developed, your mission statements, vision statements, the actual structure of the department, the budget, goals, objectives, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, all that stuff, which is what I consider as organizational development. So we have our first installment tonight. It's going to be the police department, and I'm going to turn it over. You guys do have the power with that mouse to change the slides, all right?
So the colors were brought to you by the police department, so we, Mr. Sorensen wanted to go fire engine red, but we said we couldn't do that, so no offense.
We got teal, so.
But you better have, you better have
It
a
is
good
cheap.
presentation
Best I
when you
can
get the director of IT in working with you.
Thankfully, he's going after
Yeah.
us, so. Yeah, we're gonna introduce the police department to you tonight, and I think this is a great idea when Mr. Sorensen gave us our marching orders. I really think it's a good idea for the board changes in makeup over a short period of time, and I think it's always a good idea to kind of get back and tell you where we are and where we're heading, where we'd like to go. So, let's see. Oh, it's going to work. Good. We have the power of the mouse.
Look at that.
You like that, huh?
Graphics.
That's it. That's all I got. So we're going to talk a little bit about the structure of the police department. Currently, we have 52 sworn officers. I have 1 executive assistant, 1 prosecutor, 2 legal assistants, 1 victim advocate, 2 animal control officers, 1 being a supervisor, the other's part-time. I have 2 maintenance workers, 1 intern, total 72 employees on the books, and we have additionally, we have some seasonal crossing guards. And that is our organizational chart as it stands today. There are 3 bureaus. You'll notice those 3 bureaus will be in the Special Investigations Bureau. So technically, we have 2 Operations Bureau, right? We have our Operations Bureau and our Special Investigations Bureau, which both handle some operations of the PD. And we also have our Services Bureau. And that contracts it all. I'll leave that up there for 1 second so you can take a look at it. Kind of, there's a lot going on there. A lot going on. Some of our positions, which aren't on our organizational chart, I will say, are collateral positions, like SWAT team members, crime scene members, crash team members, et cetera. They're already within that organizational chart. They're collateral, so they're wearing more hats than one, so to speak. So just to talk to you a little bit about our funding now. We use a myriad of different ways to fund the police work that goes on. Obviously, the warrant articles, the budget comes out of the warrant article. The police renovation came out of a warrant article. We have existing capital reserve warrant articles that we use for safety equipment, et cetera. We also have donations. We also exercise some federal assistance on command training, for instance, leadership, like the FBI Academy, Leader. Different programs like that as well, all go towards funding our police agency. Now, if you look at there, that's a nighttime picture of our newly reconstructed firing range. I think I've said it before to the board, it's probably the best one in the state. Lighting that didn't exist before, new pavement, painted trailer on the side, reconstructed berms, the lead's all been taken out, and that was funded through asset forfeiture, through a grant, and through a donation. So down to the left, just to put it on there because I love it, it's our new digital marquee that was asset forfeiture. These are just some mechanisms that we're using that's actually not costing the taxpayer anything, which is very helpful. Because our budget is the largest budget in the police, and the police is the largest budget of all the town departments. So we have to keep some creative mechanisms. Yes, sir. Just a guess.
I think a lot of people know what asset forfeiture means.
Would you like me to explain a little bit?
Yeah, just for
Sure.
the viewing audience.
Sure. Yes, for the viewing audience out there, essentially, we have a couple of our detectives that are assigned to federal task force, one with the DA HIDA task force and one with the FBI task force. If they're involved in and this can work for the state too. The state has an asset forfeiture program as well. It just so happens that we deal with federal task force. So there is a mechanism in the state as well on state task force. So the federal task force that we're involved in, DA, HIDA, and also FBI, if for some reason during the course of the investigation our officers are involved, maybe lead investigations, or they're just involved in the investigations, and a seizure is made of for instance, drug assets, and that seizure is made, and if any of that's monetary, or it could just be a certain piece of equipment, it could be anything. If the federal government seizes it in the process, because we're involved in that, we will get a small portion of that seizure, right? And I say small portion. Sometimes they're good-sized portions. I mean, because in many cases, our investigator may be the lead or one of the leads, and it's funny because, you might think about it and say, wow, is that really going on here in town? Yeah. Some of the investigations start in Hudson or have a Hudson element to them from time to time. And I think even Selectman Dumont gave me a call not that long ago about something that was kind of going on in town. And I'm like, oh, let me check. And I contacted Captain K. He's like, yeah, there was something going on between Nashua and Hudson that had to do with our federal task force. And it was happening right here in town. So it can happen. And as you know, our investigators have been doing pretty good job. I've been trying to send you some of the press releases as they're allowed. So it's nice, gives us some good recognition too. It's a massive force multiplier for us because we deal with some of these federal task force. When we need them, it gives us additional resources we would not be able to get just through mutual aid.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to move on a little bit to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about our direction. This is our motto, right? Partners with our community. And I think many people know our police department kind of see that. That's how we do it. Our direction is from our mission statement, our philosophy, our core values, our vision, strategic planning, and through the strategic planning, we form our yearly goals. This is our mission. So this was written by Hudson Police employees, right? We wrote this a few years back, several years back. But I was here when we wrote it, so it's not that long ago. To provide professional, thank you, 'cause I'm not that old, but so to provide professional police service in partnership with the community through mutual respect and cooperation. This is our guiding force, right? Like every day, if I wanted to tell an officer what they need to do, I could just say, hey, just take our mission statement and drive this home today, no matter what you're doing. I don't care if you're mopping the floors. It doesn't matter if you're a dispatcher. It doesn't matter if you're a legal clerk. If you just take that and drive that home in your particular job, you'll be successful, right? So that was written by us, and it's reviewed annually to see if we want to make any changes. This is our vision statement, also written by us, to maintain the quality of life and reduce the fear of crime in our community, and also annually reviewed. And we haven't changed it. That's still our vision at this point. That's not far from you. That street right there, Selectmen Moran, not far from you. That's Central Street.
Central and Ferry.
Yeah, it's like 5 years ago we took that picture. Good call. Here's our department philosophy. We, the members of the Hudson Police Department, are committed to respect human dignity and maintain the public's trust with honesty. We will be vigilant and courageous in our pursuit of justice. We'll preserve and defend the Constitution, and will enforce the law with compassion. We will serve with pride, commitment, and mirror that nobility in our personal lives. So our core values.
Can I just make a comment?
Oh,
I
I'm
just
sorry, yes.
really want to say that I really appreciate the department philosophy and how well all of these go together. It's really nice to see them all in unison, and I think that's really important for our community. So I just want to really thank you for that, because I think it, especially the philosophy kind of brings it all home from, who you are as a person to who you are as an employee to who you are in the community. So it really struck me.
I
and
can tell
just
you,
wanted
I
to say
did
that.
not drink that Kool-Aid when I was brand new, but I believe that 100%. I think exactly what you said. I now having come forward this far in my career, when I look back, and that's exactly it. And we didn't invent this. David, Captain Ko and I did not invent this. It's collective, right?
Right.
And it's collective from the agency, and it's far back as when I started, and we've just been building on it. And I think being accredited definitely helps that too, because it kind of gives us those boundaries to kind of operate through and say, hey, these are good ideas. Have a philosophy, have a motto, have a good mission statement.
And I want to affirm that with all of my experience living here as many years as I've had, I've seen this and witnessed it. So
Thank you.
just want to affirm that
Thank
for
you,
you.
I appreciate that. So our core values, we use integrity, innovation, partnership, service, and accountability. And we also use these core values as part of our evaluation system as well. We evaluate everyone on their job description and what their expectations are. But through the evaluation process, we also look at, hey, how are we meeting our core values each evaluation period? We do evaluations once a year. So if there are any questions on our core values? So I thought I would show you a little bit of our workload, what we deliver year in, year out. It's not just operations, but I'm going to start with that. And I'm not even getting into the nitty gritty. This is collective of all operations, right? So this isn't just patrol. This isn't just CID or SIB. This is all of, all the operations. So just last year, we had almost 30,000 calls for service. We had, from those calls from service, we generated 1,242 arrests. Those include not just full custody arrests. Some of those are also like a hand summons arrest where we're actually forcing someone to a court date. And I say forcing without physical force. We're just demanding they go to a court date. The incidents you see, 2343, so 2,343 incidents. Those comprise criminal offenses or investigations, as well as a non-criminal type incident that we would want to report on, such as a domestic disturbance that may not have an offense. That gives you an idea of kind of what the non-criminal incidents might be. Reportable accidents, so that number 606 reportable accidents, that is something that's generated a reason for it to be filed with the state. So that could be damage over $1,000, it could be any injury or death, and it could also be a hit and run. So those are the three factors that kind of generate a reportable accident to the state. We have more than 606 accidents, however, 606 of them were reportable. Field interviews, 164. A field interview is not really an incident, right? It just may be an officer or a detective having a conversation with somebody. They're not always consensual, but they may be consensual, where it's just to stop and talk. There's nothing necessarily wrong going on, but often it could be suspicious activity where an officer's just checking up on it. We may have a nexus for an actual minor detention, but it's something that doesn't rise to we don't have a criminal offense at the end of the day, so we might just do a field interview. And then we have 10,306 motor vehicle stops that were resolved in either a citation or a warning. So that was kind of our operational workload for the year. I didn't include the animal control, but I should have, because Janet actually and Andrew generate a lot of contacts and a lot of good education, and from time to time even either abatements or citations. So on the other side of our operations, we have our community programs. So this is where kind of our services bureau really has a heavy lift. So some of our community programs are the Citizen Police Academy, the Youth Police Academy, Coffee with a Cop. We have RAD. We have DARE, which is essentially in the schools, both middle school and elementary. We have Project Good Morning, Operation Safe Return. Piece of the Puzzle is no longer called that. It's listed later, though. Vial of Life. Then we also have the HPD Lockbox program. Piece of the puzzle became the HPD Cognitive Alert Registry. That would be for, could be for adults, so children with having some cognitive issues or people with autism. Child safety seat inspections, drug Dropbox program, vacant home checks, night eyes, AARP, chips, and the HPD Comfort Dog are just a list that covers a lot of them. The photo you're looking at is Winter Games, Special Olympics, New Hampshire. We are, we deliver a lot there, and we get a lot in return from the athletes, I'll tell you. So that is definitely a fan favorite for the officers. So kind of talk about our strategic planning. So when I became chief, one of the things we didn't have, I think we planned well. I think we always did. But one of the things we didn't have was a written strategic plan. So I got together with our command staff, and we decided we got to figure a way to deliver this. We had a little bit of extra money in 2022, so we utilized that. We hired MRI to help us create it. They didn't create it for us, and they didn't write it for, well, they wrote up a lot of it. But what they did for us was they definitely helped that end of it. We put it together, and I guess they could say they wrote it up for us. With our approval, there was a lot of meetings, a lot went into it. We essentially took it in two phases, where everyone but the command staff met and did a SWOT analysis, and then the command staff met and did a SWOT analysis. So then we sat down as a command staff and took all of that together. So looking at all of our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats, and deciding where we needed to focus on. And so from there, we came up, these are just some of them. There were a lot more than this, but these are just some of them that came up, right? We had our strengths in our community. We have great strength in our community in CALEA, wellness, hiring standards, specialty units. Some of our weaknesses were our workload, our vacancies, default budgets, unfunded mandates, succession planning. Some of our opportunities and grants, executive training, advanced training, social media. So these are some of the areas we definitely wanted to get to. And then our threats. What are our threats? Retention, financial instability, technology. There's more than that. And we have them all in the strategic plan, which is on the website if you want to look at it. Anybody can look at it on the website. And we review it annually. Coming around September is usually when we review it. We'll probably be tweaking some of our objectives.
Chief, if you can,
Speed it
tell
up.
us, tell us a little bit about, tell us a little bit about CALEA. What is CALEA?
So
Why is
CLEAR,
that important?
so CLEAR is basically the organization that they accredit us. So we're a nationally accredited organization. It's a law enforcement organization or it's made up of prior law enforcement officials. Been going, how long has CLEAR been? In the 70s?
It was in the 70s.
It started in the 70s. So for us, we've been nationally accredited since 2003. It's a heavy lift to get your accreditation, but once you're there, it's all about maintenance, right? It's all about maintenance, and so it's not, it's all we know. Like most of our employees, all they know is being accredited. So all they understand is that, hey, we have this many policies that we have to adhere to, and we have to prove that we're adhering to them. And somebody's gonna come into the police department and actually review them all. And how are they're gonna review that we do it. How are they gonna do that? They're gonna go through all of our records. They're gonna ask for surveys. They're gonna ask for members of the public to opine on how we're doing. So it's a heavy, that now, and today it's cycled, right? Today it's 4 years, and 3 of them will be virtual, where we're actually uploading our data and our proofs and our records, and they're going, sifting through it to make sure we're in compliance. And then year 4, they're here, boom, they'll be in our face, they'll be talking with you, and that's next year.
That's the end of this year.
End of this year, sorry. So, you'll get to know Roger Lamont. Roger's our accreditation officer, Lieutenant Lamont. So, because someone will be talking to our Board of Selectmen as well, right? And they may want to talk to our citizens. They certainly would be talking to our police employees. They do that all the time. We just finished up with some interviews with that. So that's where we are. That's clear, right? So we always want to maintain that accreditation. It gives us an enormous advantage in understanding our industry's best practices, right? We have someone to call that we trust, and they're vetted, and we can call them pretty much when something happened. Like right now, we're going through AI, right? What does that mean to law enforcement? Where should we land on that? Can we have an officer write an AI report? No, we can't, right? We can't have probable cause built off AI. So we're trying to figure out how we want to navigate through AI. So one of the requests I had, I just signed off on our last CLEAR assessment, and they give me an opportunity to ask for something, right? If I have any needs, and I'd like to see them set a standard on AI.
Right.
Right now, there's not one, but they're looking at it. So we'd like to see them set a standard to help us navigate through that coming up. I can tell you every other email I get is asking or basically someone saying, hey, we can help you write your reports with AI. And I don't want our police officers to write a report with AI. Not yet. We gotta go a long way. So anyways, here's some of our objectives. These objectives, they can be modified, right? So one of them you'll see is to complete the expansion and renovation of the police department. That one's going to be modified this year to infrastructure. We've been working on the other parts of the infrastructure of our PD. We renovated and reconstructed the range. We're working on the training building across the street. That's going to take a little bit of sectional work, right? Right now, we're working on doors and windows. We're looking at facelift later on, and maybe outdoor painting of it. So we're working on that. We're working on rebuilding the old HVAC system in the older part of the building. So infrastructures, that's how we'll kind of tweak that one with that. Does anybody have any questions on our objectives? Okay, so we have targetable measuring goals that we have to accomplish each year. And so from my strategic plan, this is some of our SMART goals that we would like to see happen over the next, in the future. Establish a position of deputy from one of the captains, so we have a clear succession. Reduce our 3 bureaus to 2 bureaus, so we don't have 2 operational bureaus. That would also mean moving some of the subdivisions around. Establish an additional lieutenant to command special investigations. Establish a additional patrol sergeant, so that would give us a patrol sergeant on every shift, including when there's days off. So we would have a sergeant 24 hours a day on every shift. And last, we have a part-time legal clerk now, like to make that position into a full-time position. And I'll tell you, that is almost completely driven by body-worn cameras. We just don't have the time to review, and we have to review them all. And it's taken up so much time. Just administratively, it takes up time. Then we have to have our legal clerks actually review them all for court, and before they give out discovery. A lot going on there. as I was talking about those positions, I highlighted them yellow here, so you can kind of see where they would fit on our 2-bureau organizational chart with a deputy chief. You kind of see how that would fit in the subdivisions of where they move. And to me, when I look at this one, it's more simple, but I don't, having 2 operation bureaus is difficult. So this one simplifies that. It gives a clear succession path, and it helps us with some supervision issues on patrol. And so I'm going to move to back to goals and just kind of show you kind of what do you. So yearly, I set department goals, and right now, those department goals are also measured to kind of work towards our strategic plan. But we've been doing this as long as I've been here. This is an accreditation issue, right? This is what CLIA makes us do. There's one more thing that they tell us, hey, this is a really good idea. So how this works is, once I set these goals, the bureau commanders get with their subdivisions, and their subdivisions set goals there that they'll work towards accomplishing the department goals, which work towards our strategic plan, if that makes any sense. So these are our actual department goals for 2025. This is where they lie. And usually we're heavy on the operational end. This year is going to be heavy on the services end, a little bit more of a heavy lift on the services end, just the way it fits on our strategic plan. So, and I think that's about it. If there's any questions, I'll take them. You can see that's Ron Cloutier right there, standing in front of the fire department with the tug-of-war belt. I think he's egging them on, but it's too bad Chief Tyson's in here to see that. That is a wonderful picture taken by Selectman Moran of the department. The Hudson Police Department is our honor guard below, and when we go to graduation, we usually get a lot of the guys and girls go to graduation, and that's us down to the left corner. We're welcoming in Sherry Hughes and Alex Aran, I believe. So, any questions?
Selectman Bergeropoulos?
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the info that you do provide us when you're available, and
Absolutely.
I even enjoyed reading your report that I just got not too long ago.
Oh, thank you. I will say this again. This is, it's collective. That report is done by almost everybody in the police department. So, yeah, and the one person who's really not writing anything is me, so. It's a funny pot, right? It's got my
Smart
name
man.
on it, but it's ready to work.
No, I appreciate everything you guys do. You guys work hard. It
Thank you.
doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you. It's an honor to serve the men and women who work at the police department. It is. If there's no other questions, we're all set.
Any questions?
No. Except Dave next.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Well, up next, we do have Hudson Logistics Center Public Safety Account Withdrawal. We'll recognize Captain Kale.
Thank you. So I'm here requesting the approval to release $6,029.12 from the Hudson Logistics Center Public Safety money. This $6,029.12 will be used to buy 7 SIG MCX ammunition bolt conversion kits and 2 Kiwi RAT door breaching rams. If anyone has any questions about those, I'll be more than happy to answer any.
This is the same account that you guys pulled from last time. How much is left over in there? I don't know if it's...
So we pulled approximately 116,000 last time. We've only used about 100,000 of that.
Yep.
Part of the reason being one of the drones we were looking to get with
okay.
some of the tariffs going on, the price went up to a point where we decided we were going to wait to see what happened.
Yep.
Just because the price more than doubled for the drone we were looking at getting. Rough number, we had an agreement that we were going to spend about $200,000 of the money that was in there. That's about right,
That's about
roughly.
No, I was just curious. I think it's a great use of funds.
Thank you. It will help us with a lot of training.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just so you know, these SIG ammunition bulk conversion kits, they go with the rifles that we asked for last time. It's just so we can use them for scenario training.
Right, right.
Right, I think you had mentioned that when you talked to us about those.
Yeah, we had mentioned we'd be
So it
coming back
sounds
with this.
familiar.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Any other questions?
No.
With that, I'll be looking for a motion. Motion, Selectman Guessford.
I'll make a motion to release $6,029.12 of the Hudson Logistics Center Public Safety money as defined. Well, there's a stamp there. 61, what is it?
Condition 61.
Defined by 61D.
Of the Hudson Planning Board decision dated January 11, 2023, to the Hudson Police Department for the above listed equipment.
Second.
Second by Selectman Moran. Any discussion? I would just like to say, fantastic job. I think it's great to see a private-public relationship benefiting the taxpayers. So again, great use of funds. Great job by you guys utilizing it the correct way. So thank you. Thank you. And anything from the other members?
Nope. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Guess for it's like more, 5-0. Next up is the policy subcommittee. I will recognize the town administrator, Mr. Sorensen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. As the board is well aware, we kind of reconvened the policy subcommittee. It's actually going to remain myself, Selectman Jacoby, and we added Selectman Vergaropoulos in the place of outgoing Selectman Kara Roy. Given that, in kind of initial discussions of what policies we might go after first, I thought it was best, a couple things, to take a look at the finance policies. And the reason I say that is because some of the questions we got within the audit, which we can address with some policies there, as well as we have a new finance director starting next Monday. So I think this is a good opportunity to take advantage of both those situations, and these are the four I'm recommending. I did talk to Selectman Jacoby a little bit in advance. I think a lot of this will be some table work too as well, right? And we'll bring department heads as we need them. So we're thinking about the finance director, certainly, right? But if there's some other departments that would play into this, we would bring that department head in as well. Once we feel like we're in a good place, we'll put that into our current adopted format, which the board has seen, and we'll bring them back for the full approval by this board. No promises on these four coming back at the next meeting. These are just the four we're looking at right now.
I was gonna say, you can have another 4 for us next meeting, right?
Yeah. We'll see.
There's a couple, it was a little initially confusing. There was a couple of pages out of order. Like, wait a minit, what am I looking at here?
Yeah.
But I understand what they are.
We did that so when we come back with the finished product, it looks like we did a great job.
Great.
Not only that, you're trying to make sure we're paying attention.
I have a question.
Selectman Vergaropoulos.
I too suffered the rogue pages, but I think I muddled through it. So, as far as financing, I see there's a monthly review of this. Is there an annual review that we do, or a
For
semi-annual
which
for
page you
reviewing the charges? Because
What
it-
page?
sorry, page 2 or 3.
What's the title of it?
Which policy you want?
7th page. Oh, I'm on the credit card policy.
Oh, okay.
Apologies for that.
Yep.
So like the way I read through it, and we do have some sort of accountability built in, but the onus is on the user. Is there not?
Well, I think the transaction onus is on the user per se, and then by the time it comes back to finance, that's where it gets reconciled. So
Okay.
if they're outside of what the policy might be, we would take action at that time. As an example, if you receive the statement or the invoice at the end of the month,
Yep.
and it was for 12 invoices, and you only have 10 prepared,
Okay.
there's obviously an issue there.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I might just be subject to the couple rogue pages or missing something, but
Yep.
I saw that. I just wanted to make sure there was another higher level audit, if you will, or reconciliation.
Yeah, those will be some of the things we'll get into details on as a committee and chat about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you to the town administrator. Thank you very much to the policy subcommittee, the Selectman Jacoby and the Selectman Vergaropoulos for getting into the depth on, or getting in the weeds on those ones. That'll be good.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments?
No, it was,
All right.
glad to see we're doing it.
Next up will be a consumer advocate, and I will again recognize Mr. Sorensen.
All right, thank you once again. This is another action item from the last meeting. I was tasked with reaching out to the consumer advocate, in particular asking questions on the events that took place with CPC&H, I guess from when the launch was up until where we are now. As everyone's well aware, the current contract rate we're going into is higher than Eversource's default rate. I did lay this out. There's a lot of backup in here. Actually had some really good conversations with him. And, you know, you just mentioned getting into the weeds. I think I get into the weeds here too because there's subsequent action. But to stay on the consumer advocate, he actually applauded the town of Hudson for kind of reaching out, bringing CPC&H in here, asking them questions, having them provide answers. In fact, he actually attended their yearly meeting himself. He went there and he brought up some of our things that he talked about. In the lines of that would be some of the things he would be looking at. Regarding the launch, they're within their parameters when you look at that. So their first year, they were lower than the Eversource rate. It's just at that tipping point, pretty much right after their first year, that they've kind of gone up. To that, of all of the electrical aggregates, including Eversource, it's really volatile right now. The whole market is across the board, okay? So what does the future hold? I don't know. I did talk to Henry Herndon as well. He is prepared to come back here and present their yearly report back to this board, so that's one thing to consider. The consumer advocate, if you want to speak with him more closely, he'd come back in and talk. That's, again, under the purview of this board. Getting into the weeds, so now I kind of bring myself back into the Sustainability Committee because this was always that topic in there as well. So all these things were intermingled, right? We had CPC&H, Sustainability Committee, and Board of Selectmen purview, all of that combined into one. I did make some recommendations because I think at this point we should take action in totality, so we're not having these discussions taking up time at subsequent meetings. So if I'm looking at the Sustainability Committee's role in regards to CPC&H, whether you're on the committee and/or on CPC&H as representative, and if I go back, the role of that person, whoever this board places on CPC&H, is just as Selectman Moran said. You go to those meetings, you should be coming back to report the information spot on of what you heard at the meetings to this board, okay? There may have been some confusion there with Mr. Putnam, I don't know, all right? But that's I'm just telling you what I've learned since that period of time. I think with the Sustainability Committee, there's a lot of history there, a lot more history than I know about. The folks sitting in this room know more about it than myself. For me, I think being involved in committees in my professional career up to this point, they are an advisory committee. Now, we know that, right? But typically what I've done in the past, and we all know I came from Salem, that's understood, we actually would put the word advisory in the committee title, okay? Why do you need that? I just think because it's there and you always know they're an advisory committee. All right, so that's number one. Number two, is there a clear charter? So what's a charter? What does that mean? That's their roadmap, all right? So these are the members, here's the charge, here's what their direction is. Now that can either sunset, maybe the committee has a task to take care of and it sunsets, or they're there at the purview of the board until such time this board says, no, we'll keep going. But what are the primary objectives that they are tasked with specifically? And you can even get into the, because given that, I think CP&H is a big thing they're doing now, right? They're active in that. Define that role a little bit more. So I think you have everything within that document, and that's their living document that you work off of. So those are kind of all the things. It's just all on the table here tonight. I did put a motion in here for consideration. This is a motion I wrote. The discussion can be had by the board tonight on how they feel about how they might want to move, if they want to take action on, I would say, I don't want to say reinventing, but maybe reestablishing what I would call the Sustainability Advisory Committee. So I don't know if I covered it all in a nutshell. There's a lot of information here. And I'll take questions if you have them.
Your hand first.
Thank you. I just want to bounce back 1 second. Obviously, we know we have CPC&H. We're trying to get through, handle that situation. I know Selectman Jacoby sent out an email for the Eversource rates going up. And then they were going up to 10.3 cents or something. So it was obviously higher than right now. Is CPC&H, do they have a plan for that, or are they going to rise with them? Or did they just rise prematurely to the rest of the market?
So CPC&H is locked in that 6-month period, all right? And so until they buy their next block, you don't know. It depends on where the market is. Now, that market could be affected whether the Eversources or the Liberties of the world get that. PUC allows them to do that. They're also, as Selectman Moore mentioned, trying to offset some of their debt into distribution costs to throw it back at all of the groups, including the CPC&Hs of the world and/or whether you're your own customer. So, I mean, to me, those items are the items that should be discussed in detail at the Sustainability Advisory Committee meetings, and then whoever that spokesperson is comes back here and reports that to this board. Before it's the 11th hour and the rates are going up and, you know, how did we get here?
No, I like that, thank you.
So I wanted to dismantle some of this a little bit, because we have CPC&H, or really Hudson Power, was established. We made that decision, and my understanding was that then becomes separate from the Sustainability Committee, because the Sustainability Committee does not have any, they're only advisory. So we right now have Kate Messner as our rep to CPC&H. We have one vacancy, so we have to fill that vacancy. And those two are the two people who would then report back to us directly from CPC&H and Hudson Power, for us as Hudson Power to advise or be with them. Like, I don't see the Sustainability Committee in that role. Because they're, from the mission statement that I see that's on the website, is they brought to the town this possibility of creating this format for creating a more sustainable way of getting electricity. They recommended it, and then there was a subcommittee from sustainability formed, separate from sustainability. So that subcommittee then did all the work to bring it before this board that then carried it forward. So their work is done. So I guess that's where my confusion lies, is like, sustainability is a separate entity. Their mission is to bring forward ways of, you know, saving money through green sustainable actions, like they did with the police department and they did here with lighting. So you've served on that committee longer than I have, but through my observations, and through the mission statement that is on the website, that's their charge, not to manage CPC&H. I mean, the Sustainability Committee aims to increase energy efficiency, recycling, and proper waste disposal throughout the town of Hudson, New Hampshire. We promote sustainability best practices in our community through community outreach and public events. We advocate for the implementation of green policies, practices, and technologies to ensure a more sustainable town. And then there's a separate place where there's the Hudson Power information. So I don't know if we've just defaulted to have them, because they also help to make sure that the community knows about the waste issues. You know, have they just defaulted to inform us about CPC&H and Hudson Power? And those are my questions. Just trying to like slice this up the way it should be.
I gotta say, listening to the rep from the power company, he did make a statement that every one of these towns has a representative from their committee on the board, so I'm gonna go with they assumed that they were gonna assume that role. Because it.
Sustainability was
because
assuming
for
that
us,
role.
We just, you know, here you go, and that's where it went to.
Right.
I agree with you. I don't, after what's happened
Right.
and what we're seeing this all involves, it's probably not a good idea to have, because they cannot make a decision for
Correct.
us.
Right.
Right. So is there, and that was a question I had posed, is there a separate subcommittee of the, well, our representative for Hudson Power is the town administrator, right?
One of the representatives.
One of the representatives. So is there a separate charter or a separate charge for a separate group that reports directly here? Because I don't think sustainability has that responsibility.
I became the rep in the middle of that whole process, right? And they were going through the approval process and getting everything approved and the agreements and everything. And it always it did come across as it was a, the word subcommittee, right, means
Part of.
a subsidiary of a larger committee. So it was always, I think, at that point, treated like a part of or subordinate to, the sustainability committee, and it probably shouldn't have, but they were reporting. They would come and report, to the committee monthly, and tell us what was going on, and then they would prepare something for the board here when we had decisions we had to make. They brought forward, but it was, and those weren't necessarily regular reports. In other words, only when there was something that needed to be, decisions
Addressed.
made by us. So I can see where this kind of evolved. I'll say maybe, the assumption that they were kind of responsible for it as a committee, and maybe not, maybe that wasn't their, but that's kind of how it came across. But it wasn't as if the sustainability committee charged them to go see us. It was always directly, essentially. He would brief us in the meetings, and then, well, I'm going to go brief, the town with this information. So it wasn't like there was an approval process within the sustainability committee. So that's kind of where, but I think it's very easy to see that it looked as if they were subordinate to the sustainability committee.
Yep.
So for me, I think that they got too entangled, whether it be the viewpoint or by actions taken by certain members on the board. I think that they meshed a little bit too much. So for me, I think that both parts need to be looked at, and they could be looked at the same time. I did have a couple of questions about the consumer advocate, just to start off with. The first one was when you spoke about to him about the rate change. He said that their initial startup year it stayed the same. Well, we're still within that year now. Was he just talking about the calendar year? So because it was the same up till December and then it changed in January. But we've only been a part of CPC&H when it got stood up, I believe, in May or June of last year.
So part of what Selectman Moore brought up at the last meeting was, and if you read the PUC decision, is what is the official launch? How do you decide when that is?
Right.
And in this instance, it's once the town signs that agreement, that piece of paper, as far as where that, and I think that happened a little bit in advance of them getting that first block of electricity. However, they did get it at the lower price anyways, so there was never really, I don't think it was on anyone's radar, is my point. As they winded out closer to year's end, where they just bought this last block, that's where they tipped over the other side. What he said was, in the towns that were mentioned, I think it was Jaffrey, Milford,
New Boston.
New Boston, thank you. He challenged the actual, well, when did this take place? And the PUC actually went against the consumer advocate and went in favor of what the town said. This is our launch date versus this is when it actually happened. And the rate did change, it did go up, and it was above the default rate. But they still, the towns voted to accept it, and they moved forward nonetheless. He just felt like it was, just as our concerns were, maybe somewhat deceptive, in that, the rate was supposed to be, in their particular case, you could say it just didn't, it didn't pass the sniff test, in that actually happened. The generalized language that's in the warrant article, I think CPC&H met that language.
Okay. I can understand the interpretation of the language, at least from that perspective. My perspective was within the first year, and I would have figured that at least until March, that rate would have held. And that's fine, that's just a difference of opinion. So I guess I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that, because one of the items, and I hope the public will read through this, one of the items that was in there was interesting, is the launch, is it the day they bid on the electricity and the rate that Eversource is at on the day the bid is made? That distinction was fascinating to me, because on the day some of the bids were made, the bid was, they took a lower bid than what Eversource was charging at the time. But then Eversource goes to bid at a different time and then went down. So that was one of the things in your documents. So it's all about the loose language around launch, is what I took away from this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I-
and that's unfortunate for all of us, and I guess a lesson for us going forward to be more cautious.
And that's kind of what I was getting at, because for me, I think that the average person who signed up for that was simply reviewing what was in
Correct.
the warrant article. They're not looking at the launch date and what that could possibly
Mm-hmm.
mean. They're figuring, in my opinion, at least a year from when I'm checking that box, which at the earliest would have been March of last year when they voted on it. So just a little disappointed in that. Nothing against anybody here. Obviously, it's just a difference from the documents that we got. Nonetheless, I think that going on to the next part of it, the charter, I think, is much needed, or at least a direction from the select board as to what that would be. We've done pretty much everything else as far as policies go. I think it might not be a bad idea to look at some of these committees. They're created by the Board of Selectmen, and they're charged with a direction. I think that this would be a great place to start, since we've already had a couple of issues here. So for me, I think that you could almost kind of have that conversation along with this as well, and see where it goes from there.
That's fair.
So one of the things, I had the opportunity to speak briefly to Mr. Sorensen before the meeting. We have a number of committees that are considered advisory, so that if we add the word advisory here, then I agree with you to take the charge of going through each of the advisory committees, renaming them, and creating that charter in a charter format. I know Mr. Sorensen and I have both seen charters, and there's a particular format there, just like we did for policies and things. So I think that, I don't think any committee would be, I think most committees would welcome that in creating some really good structure around the future of their volunteerism and their efforts. So I think that's all really good.
Reference to the advisory title, I think we can do that all tonight. Every committee, and then just get to their.
Oh, just change it for all the
of them
advisory?
tonight That
Great.
are advisory, and so it's out there, and we're done with that part. And then take each committee as we go, and get that.
Great.
Get the charters. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Selectman Jacoby.
I think it might be the charge of this board to ask each of our committees who are advisory to ask if they would come up with a draft charter or take an outline from Mr. Sorensen to then to flesh out the first draft of it, so that it's not put on our staff entirely. It's just trying to make it work
Yeah.
as efficiently and most quickly as possible, because it all has to come through here anyway,
I think
and
it's-
through the liaisons.
Yeah, I think it's important to get their feedback on it. However, I would say I definitely think it's the duty of the Board of Selectmen to make sure that the
Correct.
direction is coming from us, not just,
Yes.
not
Yes.
that committee itself, because it's just self-serving at that
Yes.
point.
And
I agree.
Selectman Warren.
I agree with that, because it gives them some input,
Yeah.
but I think we need to set some benchmarks that this is where you are at, and
Yeah.
then they can add to that, because we just saw with the community power, they went, and so that you won't be involved, and so we, as the board, need to set the parameters that
parameters.
you're gonna submit to us.
Yes.
Ms. Sorensen, did you have something to add to that? Ed?
No, I think there's a lot of good points here. You know, we can kind of give them the boilerplate template of what it should look like, right? And just generic descriptions, and then it's up to that committee to work through that process. Then whoever the committee is that the board designates, whether it's myself and a couple selectmen, then you sit with them and you finalize it, then it comes back here. And that's it, you approve it in form and in principle. And then they understand that you're just not gonna get lost in what is under your purview as that advisory committee and what's not.
Right.
And in honesty, they should probably come back here once a year and report.
Yes.
I know the liaisons do a great job talking about the committees, and that's great, but bring them in, do a report. what has this committee done?
Selectman Moore?
I think the town administrator has hit it on the head with the department heads. Why don't we, once we're done the departments, do the committees with what we got tonight?
Good. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think, if you do that, then it gives the board interaction to set goals for those committees for the coming year.
Right.
I like that. How does everybody feel about the charter for the Sustainability Committee for right now? Let's start with that one.
Yeah.
Do we have anybody who would be willing to sit on that subcommittee to set those goals? Selectman Moore, I see a hand.
Well, I'm the liaison.
I saw his hand, I was looking right over. I figured yours would be going right up next. All right, so that's fine by me. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add to that?
I just got one more sustainability, just for clarification. When I watched that, sometimes they asked you to vote. We don't vote. We don't vote.
No.
I made sure that that's where the,
No, but I've seen it happen on other committees too, and that's something they don't know either. We don't vote unless we're a member
audit
of that
advisory,
committee.
Right.
audit advisory committee.
Benson
We don't-
Park had asked me that when I first sat on there as well. I let them know the
Right.
same thing. So I think and another good reason, I guess, to set
To have the
this
charter.
is to make sure that they understand,
Yeah.
what the direction is and what our role is, so.
Yeah, there's only two other boards that we vote on, right? That's planning and
Zoning.
zoning.
Planning and budget.
Planning and
sorry.
budget.
That's-
We don't, we
Yeah, you
don't
need to vote on budget.
zoning.
Got the special seat.
Yeah, no voting.
I said one and I meant the other.
All right, with that, I'll be looking for a motion, whereas the Board of Selectmen hereby change the name of the Sustainability Committee to the Sustainability Advisory Committee and further charge Selectman Jacoby and Selectman Moran and the Town Administrator to create a draft formal charter for the Sustainability Advisory Committee to be reviewed and adopted at a later date, in which provides clear guidance on said purview thereof, moreover, as it provides for the best interests of the town via the authority of the Board of Selectmen.
Before we go too far,
Yeah.
we may want to make two motions.
That's exactly.
One, to make them, all the advisory committees, the advisory title.
Yes.
And then the second one to review.
I was gonna do that one next, but I'm fine to,
Oh, okay.
I'm
It's
fine to,
all right, all
yeah,
right.
fine
You
to
just think-
separate them out, yeah.
I
No,
would look, I agree.
That's fine to separate it out. I have no problem with that. So the only difference they would be to charge Selectman Moran and Selectman Jacoby
Yeah.
and the town administrator to draft a formal charter of the Sustainability Committee to be reviewed and adopted at a later date, which provides clear guidance on said purview thereof. Moreover, as it provides the best interests of the town via the authority of the Board of Selectmen.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Selectman Warren,
Second.
seconded by Selectman Jacoby. Any discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Do we have a motion to add advisory to the other committees created by the Board of Selectmen?
So that would be Benson's.
Benson's, sustainability.
Conservation.
No, conservation's the commission and
That's
That's the state
elected.
thing, right?
It's the rec,
Recreation.
recreation,
Yeah, there is a committee, that's right. That's
Also, Hudson Cable.
cable, yep.
advisory. Cable, yeah.
I think a simple motion would be to add advisory to the committees under the authority of the Board of Selectmen.
There you go.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion made by
Second
Selectman
that.
Moran, motion seconded by
Second.
Selectman Jacoby. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries
Oh.
5-0.
So, just for clarification, so then, so just so that we make sure, where will we publish that list?
We
I
gotta
would-
come back
The
and,
website will be updated because all the committees are listed
Yeah.
on there. That would be my guess, would be the best
It
way
would
to
be,
get it out
it
there.
would be also great to just add that list to
Add
these
it to the
minutes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I always try and think ahead.
All right. Okay, so two motions. All right, next up is the town accountant position. I will recognize Mr. Sorensen again.
All right, thank you. So again, as the board's well aware, we've had two vacancies within finance. I won't say for extended period, but for a good amount of time. And we've been able to fill the finance director position, and Laurie May, who's accepted that position, will be here Monday, which is exciting. In the meantime, the town accountant position has been vacant since Beth McKee had resigned and moved on to a different job. Given that, and I gotta say, by the way, the former town administrator who's been helping out, as well as the two senior accountant clerks, Kim Brooks and Magdalena Whitmore, Steve Malisi, really picked up the pieces here. Even Barbara Booley, everybody's been a team for this because we're all trying to learn as we go, all right, which has been great. So given that finance director position is getting filled, I'd like to advertise this one in advance. It may be that, as we talked about with the finance director search, that we could already have a candidate potentially. However, due diligence is to advertise either way. We do that, we advertise for it, and then we go through that process. And I think, given that this is a lower level position, it's not department head at that point, I think to work through it through the town administrator's office makes sense as well.
I would agree with that, and that's what we've done with our past practice with these types of positions. Any discussion from the board?
I'll make a
Guessford?
motion.
Oh, you gonna make the motion? We can discuss it after the motion. You wanna make that motion? I'll second it.
All right, motion made by Selectman Moore and seconded by Selectman Guessford. Any discussion? Selectman Guessford.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I guess a point, but the ad or the posting shows a bachelor's degree required. But and I don't even know if it belongs in the actual department job description. But typically, the job description, in many cases, would have an education requirement. I don't know whether we're just talking about the skills, because obviously in here, there isn't other considerations and requirements. Do we want to, and I'm not saying we should, put in there under other considerations and requirements that they must have a bachelor's degree? Or do we want to leave that out?
I wouldn't use the word must, if that's absolute.
Preferred.
Well, it could be preferred. To me, if you're looking at a candidate that has significant government experience, has a good resume, and has been in I think that counts very well for any type of candidate that may be shy of that degree.
Well, okay, yeah, I mean, you could say, and again, it's just throwing ideas out, we don't have to add anything there. Bachelor's degree or comparative.
Equivalent? Equivalent?
Equivalent.
Comparative experience.
Work experience,
Yeah.
something like that, I don't know, do we want to?
Yeah, we can reword it a little bit. I think you're right, you could do preferred, that makes sense. Some of the wording is in there, maybe it's just not, kinda laid out the way it should be.
Yeah, well, like I said, the ad, the posting that you want to put shows a bachelor's degree. It says required, though, in that description, Hudson is hiring town accountant. It does say requires.
Requires.
Well, that's
Or
my
a
fault then.
similar discipline with a minimum of 5 years.
Well, I think, Mr. Sorensen's correct. I think bachelor's degree preferred or similar discipline could be an easy way, just kind of moving that wording around a little bit.
Or equivalent experience in the field.
Yeah, with a minimum of 5 years of experience. So it does, so I think if you just remove the word requires and put, after bachelor's degree, put preferred, if you continue to read on, it does have in there any equivalent combination of education and experience that demonstrates possession. I think that you kind of meet all that and keeps it a little bit more simple. So-
Yeah, bachelor's degree in finance or similar discipline preferred.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so make that change. Is that a friendly amendment, friendly
With
to the
that,
motion maker
good to-
and the seconder? All right.
Yep.
Any other discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, and next up is Mr. Swanson again with the revenues and expenditures.
All right, so we'll go up to the big board, and I think I introduced this at the last meeting, as far as how I'll cover this, and it's basically a dashboard on where we are. General fund right now, by the way, you have all the data in your packet. The backup's with you. You have all the numbers.
Yep.
You want to dive into the details and things of that nature. Right now, the general fund is at 89%. The actual budget itself is 83%, okay, 83.33. I should have said I missed the first one there, but general fund itself is at 89%. You can see there, if we look at, and I separate these out, by the way. When I say 89%, you'll see in the packet, I'm not including the warrant articles, and I'm doing that on purpose because that can really send things awry.
Right, yeah.
All right, so I'm taking those out, and I'll actually report on those at the next meeting. The sewer budget's at 66%, doing obviously extremely well, giving the expenditures to date. and the water fund is at 94. Much of that, as you can see, and I'll show you that right here, we throw that up there. So there's your comparisons, and it's kind of color-coded, so you have the overall versus expended to date, and then you can see the encumbrances on the right. Now, if you look at that in totality and we say, okay, the encumbrances is money that's reserved, it's earmarked, we talked about that last week, it's not spent yet. In fact, some of those may be closed out. So if we take those out and you look at the expended to date at 83% on the far right-hand side, how does that match up with where we are currently? We're actually in good shape. So you can see how they balance out. In fact, your water and sewer is in really good shape, all right, as far as that offset goes. So 83% at this point, even though some of those numbers are high, 89%, 94%, a lot of that is high encumbrances and other items that kind of really throw those off. Any questions on this here?
No, that looks nice.
All right, this is the slide I brought up last time. I did a comparison March versus April. All right, so March is the dark green, April's the light green. So last report, we were at 75%. What I want you to look at here are the dark green above that red line to kind of show you, okay, we were trending higher on some of those. Now, we'll get to the middle one there in a second, so don't pay too much close attention to that. We'll put the 83% in. You can see any of those boxes are typically, there's only a few that are above that red line at this point in time, okay, which means things are starting to balance off as we get closer to the end of the year. Now, the line in the middle is engineering. We talked about this came up at the Budget Committee meeting. Selectman Rigoropoulos was there. That's the Melende Road Bridge. It's actually in the engineering budget. It's a little bit under 1.3 million. You take that out of there, the engineering budget's fine. That will be almost like an offset in the budget. As we get to the end of the year, we'll have to take that money and put it in a different spot because that's a larger project that will be reimbursed. All right, so that's gonna certainly offset what you see currently in the engineering department budget. But as you can see, a lot of the things are balancing out. Now, not non-departmental, I'll get into that in the next slide. In water fund, they are above where we should be. Those, again, are encumbrances. One of the encumbrances right now is solid waste. We have 2 months left, and we're keeping an eye on it. We just got the latest bill in, which is kind of where we thought it would be, and we still have 2 months to go. So what we're seeing is an estimate that, and the board understands that, I think this came in pretty much over budget the last 3 years, by a good amount as well. And that's not saying we did anything wrong, there's the projections and the tonnages, whatever it might have been. This year, it looks like it's tracking right where it needs to be. All right, so if I was gonna look at the budget and say, we're gonna be short somewhere, where can we make money up, or what should we be watching for? This is one of those areas that we'd say, pay close attention to this because we could have a major shortfall here. I don't see that happening right now with the data. And then if you look at the tonnage, it looks like it's just gonna balance out in the last 2 months unless something catastrophic happens and people are just, taking all kinds of things up there. So that is tracking right where it should be, is based off of what was put together last year, yes.
So, a quick note on that, because this was a discussion that this board had not too long ago with the DPW director. They were trying to implement a couple of objective measures, I guess, at the dump as well as around town solid waste. Do you believe that some of that is helping with offsetting this?
I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I would say it's certainly helping it. I will actually talk to Jay on that, Jay Tardowski, our DPW director, because they do a good job tracking this as well.
Yeah.
And he's not seeing those spikes or irregularities in the billing per month that you may see from some of that.
Well, I'm glad to see this because that was a concern that he brought forward to us. He was looking for some help here. Basically, obviously, we gave him the go-ahead to implement a couple of his recommendations, and just happy to see that it looks like it's working out. So. Yeah,
but you can see 22, 23, and 24 all finished in the red, and by a good margin. So that affects the whole budget.
Okay.
Police chief brought this up a little bit earlier. In that his department is the largest budget in town. Well, if you take the 3 largest budgets in town, PD, fire, and DPW, and I had this slide at the last one set up a little bit differently. 50% of that is salary based at this point. In fact, if you go town-wide and you look at our town-wide, pretty much 50% of that is salary, right? So when you have movement or uncertainty in positions and salary, As an example, vacancies create overtime and things of that nature with certain things you have to staff. This is where the numbers start to move around, and it gets a little, you hit these gray areas. So from my perspective, I just look at it in totality, right? 30,000 feet down, what is the total value of the salary lines currently spent versus what might be available due to those vacancies, all right? So as you can see, this is your largest percentage up here of PD at 38% and fire's at 32%. Now I bring up fire because they've had a series of vacancies this year, and we're paying a close eye on that, all right, moving forward. The other thing is sometimes your overtime, you may overexpend your overtime, but the money you have in your full-time that's available may offset it. So that's the other thing you're looking at. Where is that balance? All right, so if we go in, fire's at 88%, as you can see right now. So remember, we're at 83%. You can see that in the bottom of the screen. Police is at 82%. DPW's at 90%. And the general fund, which is everybody else, we're at 75%. Okay? Now, each department's different. They're budgeted different. DPW's at 90% because of the winter we had. Jay was in here earlier this year. He talked about that. So now let's kind of take another look at it. We'll put the next scale in. We'll actually single out, and this is in totality, by the way. This is actually fully benefited positions and what you'll see. All right? There's a big deficit in fire. We know that. You can see it right there on the screen, okay? PD is in the black by more than 100,000. DPW, they're trending in the red about 129, again, from the winter. And then if you look at the general fund, you can see what's in the black. That's a significant number. Why is that? Well, we'll talk a little bit what causes this, these vacancies. So let's look at our current vacancies right now. While fire has made up some ground, they still have 3 vacancies, okay? PD's doing well. They actually have 5 vacancies, but the chief did tell me they have some in the queue, so that number could offset before the end of the year. DPW's down to 1 vacancy, so they may actually level out here in the next 2 months, all right? And then in the general fund, what are the significant positions, okay? Think of the positions that have been open since I've been here. You have the town planner, right? You have the finance director. You have the assistant town administrator, the town accountant. These are all large-scale positions that have been open. All right, now we're working on filling those, but they create that. If you look at those numbers in totality, salaries are offsetting. They're balancing each other out. So that's good to know, because now you can get away from the salaries and get into the rest of the budget and kind of see where it might finish. And for the most part, it's kind of balancing out. But again, we won't know till after the next month, when we get into more of the details and we bring in some of the other funds. What are the other funds? Is our revenue that's coming in. Is the revenue tracking where it should be? And for the most part, it's still tracking very well. I think we'll hit the numbers, our expectations, and or exceed them, which is good. And you can see that there. Now, some of these numbers didn't update. You'll see them, they're the same as the last report, and that's just because we didn't have the data in time. All right, so you'll see those numbers rise as we move forward. All right, talking about moving forward, I did talk to Barbara Booley. She will be in at some point to do a dashboard of her own on the treasurer's report, just to show you how our funds are doing, the interest in that funds, and how she's managing those funds, which is something we'll take a look at in our policy subcommittee thing as well. And she'll be a big part of that. Large expenditures, I have all the departments looking at those as we move forward, because those could potentially be some capital reserve reimbursements if we need to. Grant reimbursement, former town administrator Steve Malizia is actually working on some of these right now within the budget. I'll come back with a slide next week on the warrant articles to show you where those stand and how those will kind of lay out. The directive's already been given to close out any purchase orders that you currently don't need anymore, so that money will come back into the budget, right? The encumbrances go down. I just went over the large department salary lines and any type of retirements and or accrued time payouts. And those are the big ones, and that's really what we're looking at here over the next 2 months as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. 83.33%. We're hovering right in that area. All right, but it's going to be, as we talked about before, bottom line budget. You're low here. It's being made up somewhere else. Questions?
Roy, I just want to say, great job. The visuals, and putting everything together, looking ahead to where we are. I mean, it's kind of a new new thing, but I think it's going to help us stay ahead of these and understand exactly what's going on, especially as we get toward the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have some work to do here at the end of the year, just as bringing the new staff in.
Yep.
And getting everyone acclimated, but we'll get it done either way.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Sorensen. With that, we'll move on to Selectmen Liaison Reports. Selectman Gregoropoulos.
Yeah, so I've, since our last meeting, I just had the Budget Committee with any significant info. They've had a lot of debate about job descriptions and employee numbers and stuff like that. Some of it I felt was relevant, some of it I felt would create a bias, so I didn't agree with a lot of it. Still got to learn more about it and figure out exactly what their goal is with it, but I'll come back with more on that. But during the meeting, they did review, they started talking about the Target concessions and town gifts, if you will. And the way they described it to me, which I'm not fully vested in all this information, is the town didn't necessarily receive the town's portion of the money the correct way, because it wasn't actually written into the contract per se. So it's kind of like a side deal between two parties rather than from the Target Corporation to us. And so there was concern there that that could come back to get us. But since we've already received a big chunk of that, we're kind of already in it. On the flip side of that, they brought up the school concessions and stuff like that, the STEM grants and all that. They were concerned that the school board doesn't have any representative, or nor did they have any representation during that whole process when that played out. And they still don't have a point of contact, nor do they know what their list of potential concessions or gifts or whatever we're calling them from Target was. So there's a big information gap there. And
We're talking impact fees here, right?
Hold on 1 second.
no,
Finish up and then I'll.
so that was that was one part of the meeting. That was pretty much it. They're concerned about how we accepted on the town side, and then they're concerned about accepting the future for the school board and stuff like that.
Real quick, just for clarification, there was no side deal. So I want to make that very clear to everybody.
I'm not saying there was. I'm not saying there was.
I know what's been said at those meetings, and I strongly disagree with a lot of the assertions that's been made. So I feel like a point of clarification is needed. There was a formal agreement. There was also part of the stipulations of approval that was recorded at the County Registry of Deeds. It's been vetted by our attorney. The information has been sent to that board time and time again. I don't know where the discrepancy lies over there. All I have to say is I strongly disagree with it, and I understand you're coming on board, so there's a lot for you to learn over there, but I want to make sure for whoever is watching at home, which I'm sure is a very large audience, that they understand that all that information is available if they would like to be provided it. And with that, I did see Ms. Diane's hand.
I just would like to provide a little bit of clarity related to the school district. No person from the school board or the SAU were involved in those conversations with kind of when that was occurring, so complete agreement there. To be clear, though, the school district has received no funds from Clayco or otherwise. Those will not be provided until the certificate of occupancy is received rather. And so to the budget committee's questions of how has the money been spent, the school district has received no money.
Oh, no, they weren't concerned about how it was spent.
No, there have actually been some questions at some of their recent committee meetings
okay.
regarding how money was spent. So to be clear, the school district has received no money. We will not receive any money until a certificate of occupancy is procured. At that time, and we will certainly have conversations about STEM and where that is appropriate and what we will use those funds for. Those conversations have not occurred because we are still so far from that point. I just want to provide a little bit more clarity there too.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, having served on the Budget Committee last year, I know for a fact, because I was there, that they have all of the documents per Chairman Dumont, and they understood that and how it came forward and where we are now. So to raise it yet again is unfortunate.
Yes.
Okay, so this-
Because it was very clearly
And I-
stated that.
And I just want to add too, none of this is targeted to you,
Nope.
Selectman Vergaropoulos, because
Oh, yeah.
I just want to make sure, it's a huge learning curve to go and hop over there. So I hope you're not taking these clarities the wrong way, but all of these members, including myself, have been listening to this for quite some time.
No, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I was just bringing back what,
No, and
What the high
I
topics were.
appreciate it because it's,
and if they're beating a dead horse, then
yeah.
I don't know, they beat it and killed it.
I just, like, what do we have to do to get the information across to them? Because, Maureen Stein has it, and we have it, obviously, and I just haven't seen it myself. So if they've been provided this, then I'm going to bring that back to them and say, hey, you guys have been provided information.
I would ask that. I think it would be appropriate, because Mr. Sorensen has also been part of some of these conversations. He could provide you with that information and give you an update, and probably go from there before the next meeting.
I would recommend meeting with Mr. Walsh of the Budget Committee, because he is very good and has all the documentation, and I personally had some really helpful conversations with him.
Actually, Selectman Jacoby, actually, those main comments were started by Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, but he has the documents. What I'm saying is.
So that's what I'm saying, so he's
Yeah.
giving misinformation, and he has the information, so he's presenting not the correct stuff. So I'll need to address that. Only a couple other things.
Oh, keep it going. That's what this is for.
They asked us, this is kind of moot, they asked us if this is, actually, I'm not even going to talk about this. They wanted us to start looking at warrant articles to make sure we could accept it properly. That's all moot now because this explained it to me. It's all kosher. The other quick two things, unfortunately, still has to do with the target site. Some of the residents have been reaching out. A lot of the residents that are contacting me seem to be getting frustrated, like they're not getting the answers they want about the Mr. Orley comments that we've all been seeing, and why they're being denied access to the soil samples for the target site. My question is, who oversees those requests/complaints, and who is the point of contact to control those issues?
So you stole a little bit of my thunder. I was going to bring that up towards the end here with Selectman Soren. Yes, Mr. Sorensen. I'm sure he doesn't want that seat. So if you don't mind, what we'll do is we'll go through the other comments, and that stuff will be addressed
Okay.
at the end.
That works for me. That's all I have. Thank you.
Selectman Jacoby.
I want to thank you for updating that, because I had some questions around that as well. But I will be the cheerleader that I usually am. So Benson Park Committee met, and they are grateful to DPW and all the help that DPW continues to give them, and the communication from all of our departments. And they were really just feel that it's a great relationship. There is a cleanup day on May 17th. Just a reminder, anyone who wants to join us, come on out. There is a form you need to fill out, and there are QR codes on some signs that make it easy for you to fill out those forms. And they have also reached out to various businesses to help fund and sponsor these work days. So for May 17th, there are Eric Aubin, Quality Driver Exteriors, is providing lunch, and Express It Art provides cookies. So you can have lunch and cookies, and those are provided by other community members, which is a really great opportunity, again, for the partnership between our groups. I also wanted to just do a little shout out to the Women's Club. They're honoring Marianne Muskowitz, and she's been going to be honored at their national meeting this week. She has been a member for many years, since 2012, and she is the gardener extraordinaire who really helps with the butterfly garden. If you don't know, the Butterfly Garden at Benson's is sponsored by the GFWC of Hudson, and I just thought that was a really great shout out. They are also continuing working with the schools on tours of the schoolhouse and some other things that the women's group does with the schools, and also helping with the reading program and the libraries. So I just thought that was really great information. And as far as the Sustainability Committee, even though I did not attend the last meeting, just a reminder that they had a great cleanup. I don't think we mentioned that last time. They had a really good turnout and collected lots and lots of garbage along the streets. And that the transfer station, just in case people don't know, it is fully open. The next day that it is fully open is May 31st from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. I know sometimes it's hard to find those dates, so I just wanted to raise that. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Selectman Guestford.
I wanted to ask a question on where did they clean up this time? Where did they decide to clean up?
I wasn't at that meeting. Was it,
Webster.
what was it? Webster Street.
Yep,
It was
okay.
Webster Street.
Yep,
And
I know
police
that.
and
There's a lot of trash out
everybody helped out greatly, and I heard it was a really good turnout and lots of garbage. That's
Yeah.
all I heard.
Appreciate the community, everybody's involvement in that, so,
Yeah, because it's a safety. It's really important to be safe while doing that.
yes, absolutely. Okay, so we have a planning board meeting tomorrow night. Last planning board meeting, we did some additional work on driveways and sidewalks, putting together a new policy or town ordinance for that. We have a few plans tomorrow night. We have, if anybody really wants to go through that ahead of time, it's always up on the website under planning board. Agendas, packets are up there, so you can get a real good look at what the planning board is looking at. And so it's always good to kind of understand what's happening around town with regard to the planning. As far as library is next week, so I'll have more to report at our next meeting about the things the library are doing right now. And then finally, rec. I do the cheerleader thing too for rec. Just a couple of updates. So I mentioned last time that there was going to be a father-daughter dance. This is the second year they've done it, and it's been a great success. It's so popular. They do it for 2 nights. There was 250 in attendance each night. Both nights were successful, a lot of fun for everyone, and they're going to continue to do this. So it's a great community event. And then soccer, believe it or not, fall soccer registration is open. If you want to sign up your children, get them out there. Sign up will end on the 22nd of June. So don't be late. Get them signed up by June. That's right around the time school ends. So they'll be out there in the fall. It's a great soccer program. And then, of course, the summer rec program is going to be again going this summer, which is always a great again community benefit that we get. And we've got counselors, and they're going to take a lot of great field trips, that sort of thing. I just have a couple other notes. This coming weekend, so we're entering into the time frame for Memorial Day coming up, and there's a couple things going on. The VFW is sponsoring, and they do every year. They sponsor flags for our veterans, and if you want your name on a flag, and they put them over in Library Park, they're all lined up in rows, and we get more and more every year. If you don't have a flag there, contact the VFW. You can contact me. I can get the information to them as well, and they'll reach out and we'll.
Legion.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Legion. You're right. The Legion right here. Thank you. Okay, so break on that. So the Legion is also sponsoring. They are the ones sponsoring the parade, right? Yes. I want to make sure. All the veterans organizations that I greatly support. There's going to be the parade, and I don't have the exact step-off time.
2 o'clock.
It's typically 2 o'clock on Memorial Day itself. If you feel like doing a lot of parades that day, there's one in Nashua that morning at 10-ish. And so we'd love to have everybody come out on Memorial Day for the parade. And they do basically they come down from the Hannaford Plaza, and they stop at Library Park, do some speeches. Selectmen have all been invited to attend. And then they reassemble. They do some music, ask to play some music, and American Legion Band and Alvern High School, and oh, there we go. And it's a very nice event. Again, a community event, and we encourage everybody to come out. And I wouldn't call it celebrate. It's a remembrance of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So those are the things I've got.
Selectman Warren.
Several of us attended the VFW Awards. Several of our employees from police, fire, and town hall received awards, so just congratulations to all of them. Last night we had conservation. What they covered, they did a conditional use permit for 140 Derry Road. That's ongoing. They talked about grants, which they are going to try to apply for next year. They got to build a 75-foot bridge to connect Hudson and Pelham down on the Musquash. So that's going to actually, because it's so long, need engineering and things like that. So they're going to apply for a grant next year to do that bridge. They're going to work with HCTV. We had a meeting today quickly at the TV studio. They're going to do a short segment on every trail in town. And then once they're done the trails, they're going to take on other conservation things. They're going to do one story a month. Compass Strong, I just talked about. They're going to be doing a cleanup day at the new Tiger Road property that we recently acquired on May 31st. That's pretty much for that. The other thing with the HCTV is that they're working with the Hudson Community Food Pantry to do a telethon in December, so they're working close together with that group to get that done. And I did attend the school board meeting, but I will pass that off to the chairman of the school board when she's ready. Thank you.
As far as myself, not a whole lot. I did have a zoning board meeting, but I did get some information from the assessing department I'd like to pass along, which is just low and moderate income homeowners property tax relief, depending on income. Taxpayers may be eligible for a refund on some prior tax years under the low and moderate income homeowners property tax relief program. To find out how or to obtain a refund, call the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration at 603-230-5920 or visit the department's website. Applications for refunds begin on May 1st and they go through June 30th. Again, apply to the New Hampshire Department of Revenue. So I just would like to throw that out there if anybody is eligible for that to get the assistance where it's needed. One thing I'd like to add is I know that there's been a lot of concerns, and we've all received some emails over comments that were made. I replied to those emails, and with the same statement that I'm going to offer here tonight is that the planning board in and of itself is a separate elected board, one of which this board has no authority over, and our staff has to act within those decisions made by those boards. However, to the comments made by a member on there, as someone who was part of those meetings, I would say that I believe that there's a misunderstanding. Now, staff is working to correct some of the issues that was raised, and I'm hoping that member of that board will clarify that, so I'm not going to speak for them. But with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Sorensen to speak on some of those issues that were raised.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So we did reply back to some of the inquiries that were put out there, and I think to date, a lot of the information, well, any of the information really that the town has on the Target site is up on our website, all right? Any public information we have on that site is certainly open to the public. I think some of the confusion, and I'm not going to get into what some individuals said. I'm just going to talk about soil sampling testing. If you go on the website, the project itself has to apply for what's called an alteration of terrain permit. because of dredging, excavation, and things of that nature. One of the primary things first step that happens is what is the site that they're doing this to? And the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services is very aware of this. They have what's called a one-stop database. It's basically a database of contamination throughout the state of New Hampshire. Known contamination, reported contamination, whatever it might be. So that's the first part of due diligence for any type of permit there. And this site does not register on that. It has some monitoring wells on it, but there's no known contamination on it, okay? And again, I'm just speaking on factual information. I'm not speaking on behalf of the developer or anything else. I'm just putting facts out there. The other part of some of the confusion is soil sampling. So they have to do soil sampling throughout that whole site as part of the AOT permit. They have to do that for stormwater purposes, state regulations, federal regulations. They have to understand what the topo and what the makeup of that site is. So when you talk about soil sampling, that's the soil sampling that's done on the site. All right, and that's all online. It's all under the purview of the AOT permit. I think in talking with staff, and because the information's there, if you go there, you'll find it. It's there. Is there a way to put together what I would call a Cliff Notes version of this? I don't know, maybe, and that's something I could work with staff on doing, just to kind of break it out. Because honestly, the AOT permit it's 250 pages. You're gonna go through it, right?
Yep.
But break it down timeline and the sequence of events that had to happen, whether it came through as the first application to the planning board, as the Amazon project to current day where we are today. And just try to get that information, I guess, more front-facing than perhaps it might be, and try to alleviate some of the concerns. So if that's something the board would like us to do, we can certainly do that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I've spoken with you as well as other staff members. I think it would be important to have a more user-friendly version of that, so that way, some of these concerns can be easily answered by the members of this board and easily found by the public. So you have my 100% support behind that.
If I might, there were some requests and complaints last year, all right? They did not get addressed or answered what I would say formally or by what I think this board expected, not blaming anyone. So those complaints were answered after the fact. Just to say, yes, we did answer them. We did talk to staff about the importance of making sure that is handled accordingly moving forward, and that's what we'll do.
And I appreciate that. I think it's very important for the board to own those things. And I know that you weren't here during those situations. So I appreciate you rectifying those as you're coming on here and dealing with all these little fires we got going on. Selectman Jacoby.
I think the key here is to have that data, because I think when I was reading through it, I'm like, the data has to exist, and it's a matter of finding it. So thank you for finding it and stating that when it started, that's where it was, because I didn't recall this ever being stated, and I always heard great things about that site. So I appreciate that, and being able to find it in short order would be helpful to everyone. But it shouldn't be a burden either to the staff. So I don't know how you balance that. Because some of the software and things in order to pull this data is very difficult to manage.
The other thing is, so the site did get a letter of deficiency, again, from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and that's when the town took action. That's when those monitors went into place and
Right.
everything else. So we are reacting to situations as they happen. I don't know if the disconnect is just because it's coming from different directions as far as people remembering incorrectly. I don't know, but I think if we just say, hey, look, here's 3 pages of a breakout,
Yes.
and we'll continue to add to it, and I think that's what you have to point to every time. If you want to go further with your research, absolutely, go ahead.
And I think, one of the things I always, I apologize. One of the things I always appreciate, Mr. Sorensen, about what you do is you do the research and then we do the links. And I think the more we can link people or point people to where they can go, it's very helpful. So thank you for that.
Selectman Moore?
I just gotta make sure it's understanding that none of this is the town's responsibility, okay? That we have nothing to do with this. This is state and federal. And that has been said numerous times to answer the emails, and they've been given direction where to go because it is not us. So I want to make that clear. This is not a town problem. Well, it is not, it's not a town responsibility.
We don't have the authority
Right,
over
correct.
that
Correct.
jurisdiction.
Okay, I just, we don't have the
Right.
authority, but the more we can help our
Exactly.
community to be,
We can,
Yeah.
and we did, because
Yeah.
because in the emails,
Yep.
I saw the emails from our employees saying, this is where you go, and this is who is responsible, and this is what got done. So that information was passed on. That needs to be clear, too.
All right, so I hope that gives everybody a little bit of solace on what has been going on, and we will continue to work on that. Do you have any other remarks you'd like to throw out there?
Yeah, I don't take up too much time. I did hand out that notice that came from the American Legion. Yeah. But you did actually a good job on it. He didn't say it, but he's reading from it, so that was good. Melende Road Bridge, even with all the water, you heard tonight, the fire chief talking about the water levels being up, the bypass stayed in place. It still worked, and they're currently going to be working on the second footing, and the precast arches will be going in place next week. Talked to the town engineer on that, which is great. Twin Bridges, same thing. They're continuing to work over there. It looks like the streetlights have been compromised. As we know, one of them was in the river last winter. So we're working with the state and obviously Nashua to replace the 10, 5 per side. So there could be a change order there, but I think we have the funding for that. We talked about the Target site. We met today up in Concord with New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services regarding the crossing at Hudson and getting an update on that and talking with them and where Pennachuck may be. And we're looking to have some news on that, hopefully in the next month. And the other thing I talking about, Selectman Jacoby mentioned Sustainability Committee, who did a great job on Webster Street. One thing I've done in the past, obviously I was in Hillsborough County, I was in Rockingham County, and we used to work with the Department of Correction to bring in community service for the inmates program to pick up roadside litter. Driven Wasson Road myself, Musquatch, all up in there. I think they need some attention. I reached out to the police chief and said, who do you know in Hillsborough? 5 minutes later, I had a contact to the superintendent of the Department of Corrections, Joseph Costanzo. Replied right away, and we're setting up, if the board's okay with that, to bring them in to do roadside litter pickup. Right now, the date looks like May 21st, could be multiple dates. All right, so what that means, they'll come in, they'll pick the litter. We'll provide protection on the road, obviously the bags, the pickers, the flea and tick spray, any of that stuff, and certainly feed them lunch for the day. So if the board's okay with that, we'll work on getting that set up.
No, I think that's a fantastic
Excellent.
idea, and I appreciate you bringing it forward.
thank you.
That's all I have.
Ms. Dion?
Thank you for having me tonight. I actually want to start, this has been a really interesting meeting. You've actually given me a lot of ideas to bring back to the school board, interactive financial dashboards, charters for committees. My wheels are spinning over here. Deep dives on departments, I have all kinds of ideas. So this has been great tonight, so thank you. Actually, a couple of things tonight. So I want to start with school safety and security. Right before April break, all of our schools went through a number of emergency management drills, and so I would like to thank both Hudson Fire Department and the Hudson Police Department that were involved in all of those. It was a real collaborative effort, students and staff in the schools, and then folks from HPD and HFD were involved and provided some feedback, and that was really productive, and so I wanted to kind of start there. In February, if anyone has kind of watched a couple of our recent meetings, the Nottingham West Fire Panel actually failed over February break. And Hudson Fire Department immediately provided some assistance, and our facilities department in the district responded, and we were able to do a phase 1 fix for that fire panel immediately. So there was never an issue in terms of safety and security for the building. Recently, at our most recent meeting, we actually approved a quote for phase 2 of that. So we've been working closely with Fire Marshal and others to get quotes, all new wiring, beacons, alerts throughout the entire building over at Nottingham West, and that work will begin soon and then continue throughout the summer. Voters may recall in March there were 3 facilities type warrant articles to come out of year-end spending. We recently approved the quotes for 2 of those. Again, related to safety and security, additional emergency alert beacons throughout the district, and the science labs at Hudson Memorial, the phase 3 of that for 2 more labs. So that work will begin over the summer, and we are certainly hopeful, in particular, that the emergency alert beacons will be done before school begins in late August. Speaking of the budget committee, folks may recall that there was an $800,000 budget motion made to reduce the budget on the school district side. And at our meeting this coming Monday, the school board and the school district are going to be having a public discussion about ways that we are going to achieve that bottom line dollar and get to that $800,000 mark. So we've been considering a number of things throughout the entire district, and so we are going to have a conversation on Monday and then bring that information to the budget committee. Little bit just about hiring, so that everyone this has a big impact on our year-end kind of budget number. We currently have 11 teacher vacancies in the district. Those are in 3 of our buildings. But on top of that, we have many, many other non-teacher vacancies. Everything from administrators to paraprofessionals, substitutes, lunch and recess monitors, and a variety of positions. So the district is actively hiring. Spring is a very, very busy season for us in terms of hiring. I will always thank the voters. That teacher contract, we are seeing a direct impact on our hiring. We are in a much better position than we were in my 3 years on the board. And we're getting a really great mix of both new, fresh out of college, and long tenured teachers coming to Hudson. And that's not the way that it was for the last several years. So that's really nice to see. So I just want to mention that. And then just kind of a couple of other recent events. Might have seen pictures, kind of a long-standing community tradition. The H.O. Smith first graders just got their class of 2036 t-shirts last week. So I can't believe we're thinking that far ahead, but they just got those. ROTC cadets and National Honor Society students were helping out both at the post office and the food pantry this weekend for the mail drive. We had 5th graders up at the CTE Center. And then I actually wanted to, it was so interesting that you mentioned the Youth Police Academy. It's taking place this year from July 7th through the 11th. It's for Hudson residents that are ages 10 to 14. And it's really a great program. We always hear great things from those students that are able to participate. And so we're really looking forward to that again. Kindergarten registration is open ongoing. And I just would say that there are many, many events taking place in the next 4 weeks. Our last day of school is June 17th for students, June 18th for staff. All really kind of culminating with Alvern High School graduation is Friday, June 13th this year. So everyone is welcome. Many concerts and art activities and open houses and different things. So the public and community are more than welcome at any of those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was great. I appreciate the information.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion to enter into non-public and ask for Mr. Sorensen to please read the motion.
All right, whereas the Hudson, New Hampshire Board of Selectmen wishes to enter into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her, unless the employee affected, 1, has a right to a meeting, and 2, requests the meeting to be open, in which case the request shall be granted. B, the hiring of any person as a public employee. And D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real estate or personal property which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or party whose interests are adverse to those of the general community.
Make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Selectman Warren, seconded by Selectman Gesford. Could you please call the roll?
Selectman Vergeropoulos.
Aye.
Selectman Jacoby.
Aye.
Selectman Gesford.
Aye.
Selectman Moran.
Aye.
Chairman Dumont.
Aye.
All in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
With that, non-public session will be entered into 9:14, thus ending the televised portion of the meeting. Any votes taken upon entering open session will be listed on the board's next agenda. I ask the public to please leave the room.